Okay, it's 5:15, so we'll go ahead and get started. So today we have Matthew Burkett, who was the red team lead for the past cyber defense competition. How many of you were in it? Is everybody here? Some people weren't? Okay, cool. Well, regardless of whether you were in it or not, this presentation is kind of tailored for everybody. We're basically, well, mostly Matthew. I'll touch on one of the boxes, but we're going to be talking about building these up from an ISEAGE staff perspective, and then what exploits and vulnerabilities were intentionally put into place, and then how you could have secured them. And then afterwards, we're kind of doing something unique with ISLab, where we've actually taken a set of these VMs that blue teams were given, pretty much stock and unconfigured for the most part, and then we'll be attacking them as a hacked box then afterwards. And so we'll just be sticking around and working on that and having fun with that. But you guys will see what vulnerabilities existed. Maybe you had patched these in the CDC, maybe you didn't think of them. And then, yeah, if you have any questions, just stop us at any time. We're all
pretty friendly here.
Yeah. And then after, we'll do some hacking. So, yeah.
All right, so welcome everyone. Question, who changed CDC or root CDC on their boxes? Yeah, that was the #1 problem. We'll first start with that one. Please change your passwords. So right, we'll first start with the point of sale box. So already this is running Windows 7 embedded. So I installed this box. I removed sorts of fun things like Windows Update. So if you couldn't update it, yeah, I kind of nerfed that. I also removed the Windows shell, so I did everything by the command line. Runs a custom point of sale application written in C#. The app was open source, so an important note, if we ever open source an app, that means Red Team's also looking at that source, so you should be really setting that source, because Red Team will be showing up on the competition day with detailed knowledge of how to attack that application.
Do you want me to touch on where they can find it?
On GitHub, so we have our thing gets linked on NiceFront on www.isage.org. If not, just search for ISEAGE, ISU. We're on the GitHub there.
So we'll sometimes make those publicly available just out of nowhere. So it's something to keep a check looking on throughout your setup phase to see if any code has become publicly available. And
I think this time, if you looked in our GitHub, maybe a day before scenario release, you might have seen the code. So probably follow us on GitHub.
Yeah, that helps too.
That might be a good idea. So another thing, some notable issues. So I thought firewall rules were silly, and I just deleted all of them, and then added a pass all rule in place of all of them. So if there's any other, I don't think Red Team ever uses this to their advantage, but it definitely is something that could have been used. Also, everyone's in the admin group, so this was paired with nicely with a open VNC server that I was running around. So there's the VNC server just chilling, no password. So, and there's also auto login as CDC, which means that command prompt running in the background was an admin prompt. So it's very easy for Red Team to get in, take the flags. I have a little video here showing some of the notable vulnerabilities in the application of the point of sale. All right, so if you click on Help About and click on the name of the application, it launches a command prompt. If you clicked on the version, it launched PowerShell. This was all very easy to find if you looked at the source. It was just sitting there. There's this remove me menu item, which was helpfully named. If you click Add Flag, which is supposed to require privileges from the station supervisor, to add it to the cart, or actually we'll do the run box first. So you could run, just do form 3, you do whatever you put in there is like running in a run box. You'll see something very similar to this later when we talk about the backend box. We also have blue flag, just pops up in Windows Explorer, right where Red Team needed to be. So that was the point of sale box for the most part. Oh yeah, so there was a VNC, like I said before. So that was, if you had a network, if you had a firewall, like using port forwarding, that would have been pretty easy to find, or nmap it. How to protect the system, lockdown. So the main issue was that the cashiers had access to this box. So locking down Explore and other apps that they shouldn't be able to use, using group policy, and then also audit the code and remove any necessary features. Now talk about the backend box, which is another Windows box. So it's running Windows Server 2012, I think R2. By default, when we disabled Windows updates through group policy, so if you wanted to go update it, you had to go into group policy and remove that. And then also, we didn't run any updates on it, so it had Eternal Blue running around on it. Notable in the application, there was this thing called /supersecret. Allowed for nice command injection. So you can go to /supersecret if you typed in S as the name of the command, name of the program you want to run, and then A is the arguments. So you could say add a user green with the password CDC, and then you could also follow this up with a command to add them to the administrator's user, or administrator's group. And because the web server was running as system, it was really easy to add that. There was many flags that were taken on the Windows box due to this way. If your flags weren't taken via super secret, they were probably taken for your SQL Server. So a lot of teams didn't realize there was this user called SA on Windows Server, which stands for Server Administrator, and the password was set to CDC. So red team could just get that, and I think as soon as that was found, we quickly got, in about 5 minutes, we got a good chunk of the Windows box flags. Now some of you had this box behind your firewall, but that was somewhat easy to bypass because we could use SSH proxying through your pumps, and then we could get access to your SQL Server. Also, there was some SQL injection. I don't know if this was used, but pro tip, string.format is not a way to prevent that. So that was some other things that was in there. All right, now we'll talk about the WW box.
Oh, okay, I was confused. Okay, so there we go. I can clip things. All right, so the purpose of the www box or the IceGas website was to provide a front end for the gas station. Basically, if you were to go to comeandgo.com or Casey's.com or something like that, it was supposed to be their website where you'd get hours. You could post reviews, which was an attack vector on that, and then you could also buy things online, talking to the backend to do that. And obviously the real purpose of this box wasn't to give store details or anything like that. It was to give an attack service for Red to use web vulnerabilities and exploit vulnerabilities on the web versus doing something like a gas pump, which is more dealing with like the C code with that. So this opens up a whole slew of opportunities for Red Team to really gain access to that server, and once they do that, they can pivot elsewhere. Okay, so the big ones here, just talking about web stuff for now. One thing I do want to talk about that before I forget that I didn't put in here, and this was Matthew's idea, on the About page, I don't have a picture, I should have gotten a picture. A lot of people actually left this. So on the About page was a phone number to call, and it was 232...
7221.
Yes, which is...
CDC by Cron.
Yes, and that's Red Team's phone number. So, you know, if Green Team were using that and they saw the About page and forgot your number, they might try calling that. So just be aware of stuff like that.
The application description.
Yeah, so be aware of stuff like that, little tricks that when we're developing these boxes, we try to play on you guys. And so that was actually left a good amount. I was kind of surprised on that one. Okay, so going into the actual vulnerabilities, intentionally left, SQL injection is and always will be a big one. We've talked about it in club, and you know, so the website required a login, and that was for a couple of different types of users. One would be the customers. Those people could post reviews, and they could also buy stuff from the store. And then there was also an administrator type user, and those people, while they couldn't buy stuff from the store, they could post replies to reviews, like an owner's reply, almost like a follow-up type thing. And that was actually one of the red flags, was proving that they could do that. And that required the administrator role. And so one thing that I actually didn't realize that you could do injection that way. So on the profile page, you can actually set a photo, which we'll talk about in a second. Using SQL injection, you can do a lot of different things. So here we're changing our role to administrator. Another example of how you could use SQL injection was during the login page. You could put the username of anybody and use very, very, very simple SQL injection to bypass needing a password and just log in as administrator and post your red flag. And it was just that easy. I'll talk about remediation for that, but basically, long story short, is sanitize user input. So,
the second one's more fun. Uploading a file name as taco and changing your name to taco.
Exactly, yeah, that's a bit more fun. Did you have a question? Oh, sorry, okay. I'm gonna skip cross-site scripting for a second. We're gonna go into the upload. So you could upload a profile picture, completely useless feature, but of course we need attack vectors here, so why not? But this file upload allowed anything you wanted to. And what you could do is, and I've demonstrated this in ISG during previous talks that I've done, but basically you could upload any sort of reverse shell you wanted to. I think there was Python running on the box, but there's a specific PHP shell that you can Google for and just set up with a port and IP to call back, and you can get a reverse shell that way. There's a lot of other opportunities as well, obviously the SQL injection and just basically being able to upload anything you want to that server and possibly getting it to execute. So that's a big thing to fix. I'll talk about remediation on that in a second. And then also always cross-site scripting, so none of the user input was really checked for, and anything could have been executed via a comment, and that would have been stored cross-site scripting because it would have been put in the database and displayed for everybody to see. So always a good attack vector there. If you want to flip slides here. Okay, so one of the big ones on the system level was this box was vulnerable to dirty cow. So really the real way to fix this is just update the operating system, get the kernel to a newer version that's not vulnerable to this. But for the people who did not do this, it was very easy for Red Team to exploit this. I don't know if many people did it, but
the common way was we would upload a reverse shell using PHP, and then we would use dirty cow to get root.
Okay, so using dirty cow as the privilege escalation exploit to get escalated privilege as a root user. Okay, so this was unpatched. You can always check the kernel uname-a to get the kernel information and then do Googling on that. But there, if you go to this link, we'll post this in past presentations, but if you click on the second link here, it's literally a page of proof of concepts on how to exploit dirty cow. It's pretty easy if you just read through the stuff. So obviously the lesson there, update the operating system, update the kernel, update all the packages that you can, as much as you can that's allowed by the scenario. Obviously we have rules and restrictions on some migration stuff, but updating everything you can within the rules of the competition.
Just to get into how trivial this is, it's a few lines of C code,
yep.
GCC it, run it, root shell.
Yeah, so extremely easy to do, extremely dangerous, and always fun for Red Team. Okay, so how to fix it? Again, update all your stuff. The SQL injection can be fixed by using prepared statements. Again, that's a way of sanitizing the user input and not executing that SQL query directly and allowing the user to alter what's being queried for, aka allowing the user to bypass not needing a password and logging in as anybody. So prepared statements, Google that, read into that in terms of how to fix that. It's actually pretty simple to convert the SQL code over, or the PHP code.
Dead simple.
Yeah. And that's something to touch on too. So PHP, in terms of how much rewriting you would want to do for a CDC, that would be completely up to you. Sometimes there are or aren't restrictions on that. But whenever you're not using a framework in something, especially with PHP, it's pretty easy to do things incorrectly, which is why web frameworks like Django for Python, and there's a ton of frameworks for PHP. They do some of the hand-holding to force you to do things right. So it's really dangerous when you're not using a framework if you're not entirely sure what you're doing. But that's just a general thing to keep in mind if you're ever developing an app on your own. Okay, continuing. Yeah, so on the profile page, you could upload any file you want. An easy way to fix that, or to try and fix that, is to reduce what's allowed to be uploaded. And so you can, if you wanted to, you could have restricted, and some people did, restricted the type of file uploaded to one type of photo file only, like a PNG or a JPEG. You just need to make sure your green team users know that in case they have to do that for a check. So again, that's updating your
The
docs.
thing you can do is make sure that you disable PHP execution of the directory where you're uploading
Yes,
photos.
that too. So obviously you don't want anything executing in there just displaying on the screen. So if you disable that, any reverse shells, that code can't execute.
You'll just see the PHP code.
Yep. So I like putting unnecessary packages on the boxes that will help red team. So 3 of them that I remember are Nmap, Ncat, and Nikto. None of those green team would need. We didn't say that in the scenario. So again, it's always good to look through what's installed and just get rid of everything that's not necessary or required by the scenario.
And those were useful.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, if a user or a red team user gets low-level access to that box, but doesn't say have sudo access, they may have these packages configured able for them to use, and those are just tools to help them. So don't help red team out any more than you need to. Just get rid of all the stuff that's not
Does
required.
your box have high number of reverse shells?
I don't know.
No. Anyways,
You could
if
probably
the
tell
box
me.
did, Nmap makes it really fast because Nmapping localhost is really freaking fast.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have those on there plus that Nmap, it makes red team's job a whole lot easier.
Yep. And then what's always good for CDC, especially with websites, is to use HTTPS. You're encrypting all that traffic and not allowing any sort of sniffing, like passwords going through plain text or any other details, really. So just take that opportunity away from red and use HTTPS where applicable, where possible.
It's very easy to do that.
Yep.
Just send us an email with your certificate request and we'll fire off a certificate to you.
Yep. So we'll sign those certs for you, usually within a day or two at most. And pretty easy to implement. So I think that's it for www. Yep. All right.
All right, so now we'll talk about the gas pumps. So these were running Alpine Linux, fairly old version. A good time. They were a little unreliable, but oh well. So a lot of things people didn't change again. Default credentials. Default pin of quad 1 works wonders. And that, I believe that drops you to a shell. So root shell, nonetheless. So there's some evil cron jobs on here. So on competition day, you did some reverse shells on some high random ports. It served your directory shadow file. If you deleted it, it would copy itself back. If you kill it, it restarted itself. Pretty good ways to see if you have a network firewall. That would fix it. Logan, was there other ways to get rid of that?
If you wanted to get rid of it, you had to basically look at the bash script and see all the places it was saving copies of itself, go to them, see where it was saving copies of itself, and delete them all in one big script if you didn't find it before competition day.
So basically, you have to go find all the files and delete them all at once.
If you found it before competition day, you just removed it from Cron and it never happened.
So check your cron table before competition day, and you'll be good. So some things another thing that this box was a good pivot point for red team to get access to your SQL server. So if you administratively disabled port forwarding, SSH port forwarding, that would have been very helpful. And of course, changing default pin. Changing the port forwarding would have made it so that you couldn't use CDC to go get your other flags. Other vulnerabilities, nobody was basically equivalent to root. I think also on the main gas pump screen, if you hit one of the F keys, I think F2 through 9, drops you a root shell. There was a skimmer.txt file somewhere on the system, and if you didn't delete that, it would just log all the credit card numbers that were put in. If you deleted that, it was no longer an issue. And then also, everyone was a Sudoer without a password. So this is the flag capture methods. Majority of it was via default creds, unfortunately. Improper permissions, so like your shared cashiers could SSH into your website box and has sudo access. That's improper permission applications. SQL injection, VNC. Now all of these are, some flags are kind of twice in this, so like if they used, super secret to create something and then somehow pivoted with SA, CDC, that also would be put in there. So that's some general idea of how the flags are captured. So key points, change your passwords. Please, 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 please. As you saw by that graph, this is why we tell you to change your password from CDC. A lot of teams fall to this.
Yeah, and this is something that's really never changed either, and it's just so easy to fix. So we're trying to preach it more and more.
Yes.
It doesn't seem to be changing. So if you run into this issue, I would suggest just try not to let it happen again, because it is such an easy thing for Red to do. They usually get those accounts like right off the bat.
They're auto-punch scripts.
Yep.
8 o'clock, 1 second, boom.
Yeah, and that's no fun. You guys want Red to do work, so that's a big one. It's just changing those default creds.
Also, look at the settings of your stuff.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that we put in our settings file that were like the default pin for the gas pump. First line in the configuration for the gas pumps was the pin. Update everything you can. So update your Windows boxes. Update your Linux boxes. I like the joke calling it eating your Wheaties. You should do it. It's good for you. Because a lot of these stuff that we leave, there's a lot of just we do stuff that's there's Metasploit modules. So they can Red Team can just go and fire, boom. Very little thought. Look at our documentation we give you. If it was existing software, look at that documentation to see suggested how to set it up. Things that we like to do is like ship PHP for a development environment. Actually, by default, it ships more for a development environment than production. Well, that's neither here nor there. Make sure you're doing good logging and monitoring. I was reading a lot of the earnbacks, and it was fairly obvious that people weren't looking at their logs. Because I could be like, you should have seen that in your logs, or there's no way that would be in your logs.
And even if you don't want to read the logs or you don't have time to, so you can set up central logging and run all those logs through like an IDS, and have that do the work for you and just give you alerts based on when it picks stuff up. Obviously, either you're going to have to rely on the defaults on that, which isn't always the best because you might get false positives and stuff, or you can try and do some tuning on those. And if you have time to do that, not only is that going to help you determine what's going on, but it'll help you generate your intrusion reports because now you'll have proof and you'll know exactly what to look at. And also for earnbacks, it's going to help out a lot.
So that data, like you're talking about the IDSs or looking at your logs, firewall logs, are extremely important. Like the rules say, if you submit a report saying no intrusions detected without any evidence to back it up, you will get zeros. Don't do that.
Yeah, even if nothing has happened, but you don't have proof, we can't give you points for that. So you have to know that nothing has happened and provide us proof of how you know that. And logs are proof, if I may.
Mm-hmm. Also, earnbacks. Some key points for earnbacks. Big things that we're looking for. Which user did it? How do they get access? And particularly if it was an admin user, maybe tell us how Red Team got the password. That's not strictly required, but the big things we're looking for is the user, and then how did the user do that action? So, for example, CDC logged in via the no password VNC. Kind of things like that. And just we're looking for a lot of that stuff, or we saw I think we got in via the high, poor SSH thing, things like that. Also, uptime is important. In this competition, uptime was weighted 20%. Flags are worth 20%. It's extremely important to keep your services up. Also, if services aren't up, you'll get zeros for green team usability, which is also another 20% of your score. So uptime is critical.
Yep, and also touching on the green team stuff, green team docs are critical because when things start running out of time for green team, if they can't figure out how to do stuff by your docs, and they've already called you and talked to you, and you're busy doing anomalies and can't get back to them at the time and stuff like that, they're just going to give you a 0 and move on because they have to do a good number of checks throughout the day. So detailed docs on Green Team, making it as simple as possible for somebody who's really not a computer user or doesn't know anything about server administration or anything. Pictures help a lot, and step-by-step instructions of exactly where to click and what to do the required stuff that's laid out in the scenario. That is so key to making sure you maximize your points on Green Team usability checks.
Yes, good green docs are important, and also good Green Team docs also help your green doc score, which is again 5% of your score as well. So all this stuff, you know, good uptime, good green docs starts to snowball to get you better scores. Like if you have good usability, you are light years ahead of most teams. I mean, there's a lot of teams who consistently get basically zeros on it.
Yep.
I think I've joked, if we were to curve the scores so everyone actually got passing grades, we'd have to make like a 30% like an A or a B, because that's how low some of these usability scores are sometimes.
So start developing docs early, and you can really rock that part, and that will help you as a whole in terms of where your team places.
And also, speaking of documentation, white team documentation, don't submit us just a cover page in like 2 sentences. That will get you a 0. People have done that. Not fun. So spend a little bit of time. You know, at least don't start it at, you know, 7:30 before the competition. Start it, I would say at least, realistically, I would say probably, you know, Thursday or Friday before the attack phase. I mean, like all, you know, I would say, you know, start it the weeks before, but no, something better, that never happened. That typically happened. It's typically around, I would say at least Thursday, Friday night, you should definitely be working on your documentation for both. Because if you put a few hours into it, you will have good docs and get a good score. Intrusion reports, we'll touch on those. Like you said, good intrusion detection systems, looking at your logs are helpful. Also, if you lose a flag within, you know, the time of the intrusion report, mention that. Because I've seen, because we'll look at your flag, what flags you lose, and at your report, and you're like, yes, it's 11 o'clock report, and like you lost a flag at 10, like, well, this should be here. So something to keep in mind is make sure that you include losing flags in your intrusion reports as well. Also do the anomalies as much as you can. I have placed in the top 5, lost all my flags because my team did really good at anomalies, so.
Do we touch on what anomalies to do? If you get what I'm saying?
I mean, I guess if you want to spill something, go ahead.
Well, yeah, sure. Not all anomalies are necessarily going to benefit you. So just read them carefully and think about whether these points are worth it. If something's going to take you forever, or it's going to take you away from something more important, make sure you're prioritizing and strategizing in terms of what anomalies you're doing. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and just remember that not all anomalies need to be accepted and completed. There is a reject button on anomalies for a reason. So questions about the CDC, general advice of how to place well with the CDCs?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can talk to it much since, I don't know if y'all want to reuse it, but the light anomaly, like, what was going on with that? Or like, what was the goal for it? Or like,
So the question is, like, what about the light anomaly? I wasn't in there, but I think there was a lot of just implementation issues.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of just implementation.
We were having technical difficulties with that, so that may or may not make a reappearance. But yeah, that was basically whoever made that thought it was working, and then we didn't have time to get it fully working, so we were trying to kind of fix it in the middle, and it was just a big mess, so we ended up dropping that one. But like nobody lost or got any points for that or anything like that.
yeah, I was just sort of curious to like, what we're supposed to do with it? Was it like the Morse code sort of thing? And if figure it out that way, or?
And I'm not.
As far as I know, there's something along the lines of Morse code, which is going
Morse
to,
code.
Flash repeatedly some kind of like bits or something like that, and then you just go and decode it.
Oh, cool.
But I don't actually know. I don't make it.
Yeah, I believe that was it, so he's gonna have to come up with something else in the future if he wants to
Yeah.
use that. No, but the actual bar was supposed to show the services for each team. And then at the end, it had a light that was doing Morse code. So that was, the one light that was blinking was.
Yes, so the goal of that was for Morse code type stuff
Yeah,
then.
it was like, an anomaly. So
Why was it in German?
why was what?
Why was it in German?
I don't know.
What? I don't know.
You don't like the website?
I don't
I
know.
have no idea, to be honest.
The person who wrote that isn't here tonight, so.
Yeah.
Really, the description of the anomaly, it's a copy pasta.
What's all that?
Copy pasta.
Oh, okay. One thing I want to touch on, sometimes we get questions as to when our CDCs are. We update these, in fact, I still have to update it for this one being over, but we update them and we keep them up to date. So check those for the next year of stuff, so when fall comes around and stuff like that, we usually have it all set up and good to go by like when school starts. So if you're curious the general time of when CDCs are going to be, you can always check that. And
Also, we might even have that by midsummer as well,
like
so.
in summer, so just keep an eye on it. We're always working on that stuff.
Yeah, we're always working on there. You can find, another thing to note is cdc.org. There's also our CDC blog. We don't do as much as anymore, but occasionally there are guides posted up there.
It's still all on there.
Yep, it's all up there. Yeah, there is guides for how to set up an Active Directory server that guides you step by step. Logan gave a talk about last week how the guide might not be the most secure thing, but it definitely will get you started. If you're like, I need something to host LDAP, that will get you started and get you something that's workable. There's also guides on how to join stuff to Windows AD domains and things of that nature. And then as CDCs goes on, we'll try to add more to that. And if you guys want us to post something on there, let us know and we might try to see if we can do that.
Post-grad.
No,
Yes.
no.
Does anybody have any other questions or comments about the past CDC? Anything they didn't like that we could improve on?
If you look at ISEAGE, there's a bug saying that if your ready valve score is 0. Not true. Just go check your red summary. That is something important to note. If you go to ISEAGE.org, you're now able to see the capture notes. You got red team left, the red wiki, things of that nature. So those are kind of interesting. Depending on the red teamer, you might have some useful notes, you might not. But a lot of the stuff we spent tonight, I looked through all the capture notes today and I pulled those straight out of there. If we go back to that, I just looked at the capture notes, that's where I pulled that from. So yeah. I'll go for the one in the back first, then you.
Are the VMs available to be downloaded?
Yeah, so you can download your VMs. We did say through tomorrow noon, but I'm probably going to say something else out on an email. I'll probably say till Thursday.
Okay. And
So you
those I support
if you want, you can download your VMs using the VMware converter.
Oh, okay.
We don't have the actual VMs, but we could try to see if we get those posted. Your original VMs.
Do you mean the originals or like the ones that you've been working on?
Like the ones that we've been.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to download the VMware standalone converter?
VMware standalone converter. You can also tell one of our RDP hops as well.
Yeah.
But give yourself a little bit of time to download those. So.
Yeah, and then you would just plug in the vCenter information, your login, and then it'll let you pick which one you want to convert and download. And then it downloads it as a
workstation.
Yeah, so if you've got a VMware workstation, you'll be able to just throw it right in there and open it up once it downloads.
Okay.
So you go to VMware standalone converter, VMware vCenter standalone converter. You can go to download. You will need a free VMware account in order to do that.
Yep, if you don't want to do that, then just hop on our RDP. It's already installed on there, and then you can just transfer the file however you
Please delete your VMs afterwards so we don't have to clean that up. So.
Yeah, try to keep that clean. Okay, what was your question?
Did you intend for the POS to be unupdatable?
I might have kind of made it that way.
Okay.
Because I was just like scrolling through the features. I'm like, Windows updates. That sounds dangerous. Turn that off.
It's just because my roommate figured out how to do it.
Oh, yeah. It was, I think I heard one team figured out how to do it, but I don't know what they did.
Two.
Oh, there's 2 teams.
Because my roommate's not on different teams.
Okay. There's 2 teams that figured it out, but I haven't heard, there's a lot of teams that are struggling with that. Other questions? So yeah, so you're now gonna use the knowledge we just gave you to attack those boxes. I'll turn it back over to the cabinet and they can let you know what's going on with that.